The night sky over Virginia was calm, but inside the city, fear was about to rise. The medical base stood quiet, with lights glowing from the tall glass windows. Doctors and nurses moved quickly through the halls, caring for patients who trusted them. Among them was Dr. Laura Bennett, a young woman known for her sharp mind and steady hands. Her brother Ethan Bennett worked in the same base as a combat medic. He had seen war on foreign soil, but tonight he would see it at home. Without warning, the calm broke. The sound of engines shook the ground. Armed men appeared from the dark, moving fast toward the hospital. They carried heavy rifles and strange gear. Their faces showed no pity. They did not come to take soldiers. They came for the healers. The first shots shattered the glass doors. Panic swept the halls as nurses screamed and tried to shield their patients. Ethan rushed forward, pulling Laura behind a wall. The attackers stormed in, firing at anyone in their way. A nurse fell beside Laura, and Ethan dragged her to safety, but the bullets did not stop. Laura's heart pounded. She had worked through long nights and saved countless lives, but this was different. She was not facing disease or injury. She was facing men who wanted to destroy the people who healed. She pressed her hands to the wound of a guard who had been shot, even as the sound of battle grew louder around her.
Out.
He had promised himself never to kill again after leaving the army, but that promise ended here. He aimed and fired at the first man he saw, dropping him to the ground. More attackers came, but Ethan fought with fury. He was not a soldier tonight. He was a brother, protecting his family. Laura pulled patients into a storage room, locking the door behind them. She whispered for them to stay quiet. She wanted to keep healing, but she knew survival came first. She looked through the small window in the door and saw her brother still fighting in the hall. Outnumbered and outgunned, the attackers lit fires inside the building. Smoke filled the air. The medical base, once a place of hope, became a trap of fire and blood. Laura's eyes filled with tears, but her hands stayed steady. She cut cloth into bandages, pressed wounds, and held on to every life she could. She could not give up, even as everything burned. Outside, more explosions shook the city. Same attacks were happening everywhere. Hospitals and other states were also hit. The enemy had planned this strike with precision. It wanted to break the will of Earth by killing its healers. Ethan pulled Laura from the storage room when the fire grew too strong. Together, they carried patients through the smoke, leading them out into the night. The city streets were filled with chaos. Ambulances burned, and the cries of the wounded filled the air. From a rooftop nearby, the leader of the attackers watched with cold eyes. He gave the order to press forward and leave no healer alive. The attackers spread across the streets, hunting doctors and nurses as if they were soldiers. Laura and Ethan ran with the survivors. Ethan fired back whenever he could, while Laura pulled a wounded boy on her back. They refused to leave anyone behind. Behind them, the hospital collapsed in flames. In that moment, both brother and sister understood the truth. This was not just an attack. It was the beginning of a war. They were healers, but tonight, they had become targets. If the enemy wanted to take Earth's healers, then Earth would have to answer with something far more deadly. The city was burning, but the spirit of the people refused to die. Laura and Ethan moved through the streets with survivors, their eyes wide with fear and anger. The attackers had planned to destroy the healers, but they had awakened something stronger. In a safe house, they met with other survivors. There were soldiers, former policemen, and ordinary citizens who had taken up arms. Everyone shared one goal: to fight back. Laura looked at the group and saw fear, but also determination. They had lost homes, friends, and colleagues. Now they had a choice: run or rise. From the corner of the room, a woman stepped forward. Her name was Queen Alexandra. She had once been a nurse in a small clinic, but the attack had changed her. Her calm voice carried authority. She spoke of vengeance and strategy. She told the group that if the enemy thought they could destroy healers without consequence, they were wrong. Alexandra promised that every strike against humanity would be answered. Ethan listened carefully. He had always followed orders, but now he followed purpose. He looked at Laura, who nodded silently. They had seen the death, but they also saw hope. Alexandra handed weapons to the strongest fighters and organized teams for rescue and attack. She did not ask for permission. She acted first mission came quickly. Reports showed that an enemy unit had trapped survivors in a small hospital across the city. Ethan led a team to break through. Laura stayed behind to coordinate the care of those who had been rescued. She handed out bandages and gave instructions with authority. She was not just a healer now. She was a leader of life and death. Streets were dangerous. Broken cars, fire, and debris blocked the way. Ethan and his team moved quickly, shooting only when necessary, but they could not avoid contact. Enemy fighters attacked from the shadows. Ethan fired his rifle with precision. He had trained for combat, but now every shot was personal. He fought for his sister, for the patients, and for every life they could save. Inside the hospital, the team found survivors hiding under tables. Fear was written on their faces. Ethan and his team led them out, protecting them as the enemy tried to trap them again. The attackers were brutal, but they underestimated the will of the people. Each rescue gave the survivors courage and the attackers fear. Back at the safe house, Queen Alexandra planned the next steps. She knew this war was bigger than a single city. The enemy wanted to crush healers everywhere. Alexandra's solution was simple: fight fire with fire. She called for every capable human to rise. Soldiers would fight alongside civilians, and healers would protect life while striking back. Laura worked tirelessly. She treated the wounded, taught others to stabilize patients, and never stopped moving. Ethan returned from each mission bloodied, but alive. He learned quickly that to survive and win, he could not hesitate. Every enemy fighter killed was another step toward reclaiming their world. The first week of resistance ended with small victories. They had saved dozens of healers and civilians. The attackers were forced to retreat from certain areas. Alexandra's voice spread through hidden radio channels, calling for more humans to join. The Angels of Death, as they began to be called, were no longer just a few fighters. They were a movement, a warning to anyone who thought humanity could be broken. Laura and Ethan looked at the city from the rooftop of the safe house. Smoke rose in the distance, but their eyes were steady. They had lost much, but they had gained purpose. Every life they saved was a promise of revenge. Every plan they made was a step closer to ending the terror. The healers would not die quietly. The Angels of Death were awakening, and the attackers would soon learn that striking humanity's heart would awaken its fury. The Angels of Death were no longer just survivors. They had become a force. Laura and Ethan moved through the city with their new allies. Every street they passed told a story of destruction, but also of resistance. Fires burned, but humans fought harder. Queen Alexandra stood at the center of their operation. She was everywhere at once, giving orders, inspiring courage, and fighting when needed. Her presence gave hope. Soldiers, civilians, and healers worked together. Each mission brought them closer to understanding the enemy and stronger in their resolve. Ethan led a team to reclaim a supply depot taken by the attackers. The enemy had fortified the building, thinking humans would fear the fight. Ethan did not hesitate. His team moved quietly through alleys and broken streets. Every corner could hold danger, but hesitation could mean death. Inside the depot, the attackers were ready. Guns fired, and the sound echoed through the night. Ethan took cover and returned fire with precision. He moved forward, dragging a wounded teammate behind him. They cleared rooms one by one, protecting survivors trapped inside. The enemy had trained to strike healers, but they had not prepared for humans who refused to fall. Meanwhile, Laura led a group of healers to set up field hospitals in hidden locations. She treated wounds under fire and taught others to do the same. Her hands were steady, her mind sharp. She knew every life saved was another warrior ready to fight back. The healers were no longer only saving lives, they were sustaining the rebellion. The city became a battlefield unlike any before. Humans were fighting humans, but the spirit of the Angels of Death made them unstoppable. Ordinary people used whatever they could find: pipes, knives, firearms to defend their streets. Every rescue, every attack, every act of bravery spread a message. Humanity would not kneel. Queen Alexandra planned a daring mission to strike at the enemy's communication hub. She chose a team of the strongest fighters. Ethan volunteered to lead the assault. Laura insisted on joining to tend to any wounded during the fight. Together, they moved silently through the ruins. The attack began at dawn. Explosions rocked the city as they breached the hub. The enemy fought fiercely, but the Angels were relentless. Ethan's team fought with coordination and fury. Laura moved among the wounded, never stopping, never giving up. The hub was destroyed, sending a wave of confusion through the enemy ranks. After the mission, the Angels returned to their base with survivors and captured supplies. Every success strengthened their resolve. They learned that the enemy was human, but cruelty alone could not stop determination.
Ow.
Each fight taught them new ways to strike and survive. From the rooftop of their safe house, Laura looked over the city. Smoke rose from battles still raging, but she saw movement below, humans rising from the ashes. The Angels of Death were becoming more than a group. They were becoming a symbol of resistance. Ethan joined her, holding a map covered in marks of enemy positions. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with purpose. "We are making them pay," he said quietly. Laura nodded. Every life they saved, every battle they won, brought them closer to the day when the attackers would no longer strike without fear. In the streets, the fight continued. Humans fought humans, but for every healer threatened, 100 fighters rose. The Angels of Death moved as one. They were no longer just defending, they were hunting, and the city knew it. Humanity's fury had awakened, and nothing could stop it now. The city burned brighter than ever. Fires lit the night sky, and the sound of battle carried for miles. The Angels of Death had grown stronger. They were no longer hiding. They were striking with precision and fury. Queen Alexandra led her forces to the heart of the enemy's operations. Intelligence reports showed that the attackers had gathered their strongest fighters in New York. They planned to crush the Angels once and for all. Alexandra knew they could not wait. They had to act first. Ethan prepared his strike team. Every fighter had a role. They moved through ruined streets, using the shadows as cover. Laura followed closely, carrying medical supplies and ready to treat anyone who fell. Fear had left their eyes. They had seen enough death to know they would not stop until victory was theirs. The first wave of attackers met them at a bridge leading into the city. Gunfire erupted, echoing across the water. Ethan and his team moved quickly, returning fire and forcing the enemy to retreat. Civilians trapped in the area were guided to safety by other Angels. Every rescue built their strength and resolve. Inside the city, the battle became chaotic. Fires spread, smoke choked the streets, and the attackers were relentless. Ethan led a group through a collapsed building to flank the enemy. He fought with skill and anger. Every enemy they faced reminded him of the healers lost in Virginia. Every victory gave them momentum. Laura set up a small field hospital in an abandoned school. She worked tirelessly, tending to wounds as bombs and gunfire shook the walls. Her hands were steady, her mind sharp. Fighters came to her, sometimes injured, sometimes exhausted. She treated them all. Every life she saved was another fighter ready to continue the fight. Queen Alexandra took to the front lines. She confronted the enemy commander directly in the center of the city. Their fight was brutal. Alexandra moved with strength and skill. The commander struck hard, but she countered with speed and strategy. Her victory inspired the Angels to push forward with renewed energy. The battle raged for hours. Ethan's team captured enemy strongpoints, destroyed weapons, and rescued trapped civilians. Laura moved from wounded fighter to wounded fighter, stabilizing them and sending them back into the fight. The Angels were unstoppable. By midnight, the enemy began to retreat. Their command structure was broken, their fighters scattered. The Angels had turned the city into a battlefield they controlled. Every street told the story of human determination. The attackers realized that striking Earth's healers had awakened a force far stronger than they imagined. Ethan stood on a rooftop, looking at the city below. Smoke rose from fires, but the streets were alive with movement. Angels moved through the ruins, helping civilians and hunting the enemy. He felt a fierce pride. They had fought back when the world had almost fallen. Laura joined him, exhausted but alive. "We are not finished," she said. Ethan nodded. Every victory was temporary. Every battle was a step toward total freedom. They had won tonight, but tomorrow the war would continue. Queen Alexandra appeared beside them, surveying the scene. Her voice was calm but strong. They thought they could destroy us. They thought they could break humanity. They were wrong. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them. We finish this war. The Angels of Death looked at one another. They were no longer survivors. They were warriors, healers, and leaders. Every life they saved, every street they fought on, had prepared them for the final strike. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would not die. The Angels would lead the way. The enemy had retreated to their last stronghold, a city surrounded by walls and guarded by thousands of fighters. It was a place built for control, where captured healers were forced to serve. Queen Alexandra stood with her army at the edge of the city. The angels of death had trained, healed, and fought their way to this moment. Now the final battle would decide the fate of Earth. Ethan led the first wave of fighters. He moved quickly through the shadows, scouting enemy positions. His team carried weapons and supplies, ready for every trap. Every street, every building could hold death, but he had faced worse and survived. Behind him, Laura guided a team of healers, ready to treat the wounded immediately. She had learned to fight without leaving her duty to save lives behind. The attack began with a coordinated strike. Explosions tore through the walls, and fire spread across the streets. Enemy fighters rushed to defend their stronghold, but the angels were relentless. Ethan and his team fought with precision and fury. Every move was calculated. Every attack was personal. Inside the city, the angels found the captured healers. They were weak and scared, but alive. Laura moved among them, giving water, stabilizing injuries, and giving them hope. The sight of her calm hands and determined eyes inspired the healers to join the fight. Every saved life added strength to the rebellion. Queen Alexandra led the main assault on the enemy command center. She confronted the human commander who had orchestrated the attacks. Their battle was fierce, with blows that could kill and strategy that could decide the war. Alexandra did not hesitate. She fought with the fury of every healer lost and every life saved. The commander fell, defeated by the power of human will. Ethan and Laura fought side by side, clearing streets, rescuing survivors, and cutting off enemy escape routes. Every corner they turned brought new enemies, but the angels of death never faltered. Ordinary humans who had become warriors joined the fight, inspired by their leaders. The city became a symbol of resistance, its walls painted with courage and determination. By nightfall, the enemy's army was broken. Fighters surrendered or fled, their leaders captured. The healers were free, and the city belonged to humanity once more. Fires still burned, but they were no longer symbols of fear. They marked the victory of those who refused to give up. Ethan looked at Laura, their faces streaked with dirt and blood, and nodded. "We did it," he said quietly. Laura shook her head. "This is just the start. We have to rebuild and protect what we have left." They knew the scars of war would remain, but so would the strength of humans who had risen when attacked. Queen Alexandra addressed the angels. Her voice was calm, but every word carried weight. "They thought they could destroy our healers. They thought they could break humanity. They were wrong. Today we showed them that Earth's people will fight, will survive, and will protect life no matter the cost." The angels of death stood together, weary but proud. They had saved healers, defeated the enemy, and reclaimed their world. Humanity was scarred, but it was alive. Every healer they had protected, every fighter they had trained, and every life they had saved was proof that humans could rise above any attack. As the sun rose over the ruined city, Laura, Ethan, and Queen Alexandra looked out across the streets. The war was over, but their duty was not. So they would rebuild, protect, and ensure that Earth would never be weak again. Humanity had answered the attack on its healers with fire, steel, and unbroken courage. The angels of death had fulfilled their promise.